All right, let's get into this. We're going to talk about a college student named Prashant, but honestly, his story is really about something universal, a fear that I think almost all of us have felt at some point. That fear of just getting started. It's all about that first step and finally finding the guts to create something. So this whole thing begins right here, with a dream he's had for years. I mean, just imagine that. Since he was in middle school, Prashant had this idea buzzing around in his head. He wanted to make stuff, to get his voice out there. And this wasn't just some passing phase. This was a serious, long-term ambition. And this just lays out the problem perfectly, doesn't it? It's the battles so many of us face. On one side, you've got the dream, to make things, to connect with people. And on the other side is this giant wall of fear. For Prashant, it was something really specific, the fear of being on camera. And that one thing was enough to keep him stuck for years. Which brings us to this first big idea, the dream deferred. See, this isn't really just Prashant's story. It's the story of anyone who's ever had a cool idea but just felt frozen, you know? Anyone who's put that passion project on a shelf, telling yourself you'll get to it when the time is right, or when you finally feel brave enough. And here's the thing that really hits home. How much time has passed? We're not talking about 8th grade anymore. He's in his 2nd year of college now. The dream is still there, absolutely, but that fear, it's just as strong as ever. It's basically been a stalemate for his entire teenage years.
So, how do you possibly break a stalemate like that? Well, this is where something totally new enters the picture. A catalyst, a tool, something that finally gave him the push he needed to take that one single, seemingly impossible first step.
Okay, now what's so smart about this is how he framed it in his mind. He decides to use AI, but, and this is key, not as a shortcut to get out of doing the work. He sees it as a bridge. It's just a temporary support to help him get across this huge, scary chasm of fear. It's not about avoiding the journey, it's about finally being able to start the journey. And he's super clear about why he's doing this. He says it right here, this has nothing to do with being lazy. It's the opposite. It's about learning. He's using this tool to finally get some momentum, to get some practice in, to just get the engine running. The tech is just the thing that lets him start growing. And this is just so important. The real change here isn't about him becoming an expert in some AI tool. Not at all. It's about the work he's doing on the inside, the work that the tool finally makes possible. It's about finding the courage to learn and maybe even fail a little, right out in the open. So what's he really learning? Well, yeah, he's learning the technical stuff, how to use AI, how to edit, all the nuts and bolts of making content. But the most important thing on this list, the real work that's happening here, he's learning to trust himself, slowly but surely. And this is such a key point. His face might not be on the screen, but his personality, his ideas, his intention, that's all there. His authentic self is still the heart and soul of the content. The tool is just a temporary way to deliver his message. And all this work, all this learning out in the open, it all builds up to this really powerful moment. You can feel the shift from this private, hidden fear to a public declaration, a promise that he's making not just to anyone watching, but really to himself. Just look at his expectations. So real. He knows his first video might be seen by 10 people, or 5, or heck, maybe just 1 person. But you know what? It doesn't matter to him. Right now, success isn't about the view count, it's about the action count. So he makes this vow, and you can just feel the momentum building. He has this breakthrough where he realizes that the specific tool he starts with is kind of irrelevant. The exact method really doesn't matter. He's not committing to a format. He's committing to the process, whether he uses his own voice or something else entirely. Or even if it's just with text. The only thing that truly matters is that he shows up. He promises to post no matter what it looks like. The commitment is the whole point. And then we get this. The vow. In his own words, this time, I'm not going to stop. I mean, wow, that is a definitive statement. The years of waiting? Over. The debate in his head? Done. A decision has been made. No turning back now. So what does winning actually look like at this point in the journey? This last part completely redefines the idea of victory. It's not about going viral. It's not about getting 1 million subs. It's something way more personal and way more important. What is this number 1? Yeah, it could be that one viewer he was willing to make the video for. But really, it represents that one single first step he finally took after standing still for years. That one action, that's everything.
And here it is. This is the lesson, the big takeaway for every single one of us. Starting is the biggest victory. The outcome, what happens next, it's almost irrelevant in that moment. The win is in the simple act of beginning. The second he started, he'd already won.
So as we wrap this up, the story kind of flips from being about Prashant to being about you. He found his bridge, he took his first step, and he claimed his victory. So now the only question left is, what dream have you been putting off? And what is your first step going to be?